Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, and welcome to another HRO Today educational podcast. Today, we're going to talk about one of the most overlooked subjects in the world of human resources, the middle market. Many providers are in the marketplace chasing the biggest and most complex deals. And sometimes middle market companies feel left out, that there's really no one for them to partner with, yet their problems can be global, their solutions can be complicated. Well, today we're going to talk about the needs of middle market companies and the options available from a provider that actually focuses on that market. I'm Elliot Clark. I'm the CEO of HRO Today. We publish HRO Today magazine, HRO Today EMEA, and HRO Today APAC. We're the producers of the HRO Today forums held around the world, and we are the managers of the HRO Today Association. Today's podcast is being brought to you in partnership with LevelUp, or as they're sometimes referred to, LevelUp RPO. LevelUp has an award-winning RPO program, and frankly, an RPO program that is very highly rated on the HRO Today Baker's Dozen. So they provide exemplary service to their clients. I'm joined today by their Chief Revenue Officer, Jen Spicher. Jen has over 20 years experience in the talent industry. She has an extensive history of building results-driven sales teams and also working with clients on highly complex solutions. And that's her job as the Chief Revenue Officer. Prior to joining LevelUp, she was Executive Vice President at Talent Wave, a company that provides services in the MSP market and also in independent contractor compliance, and also prior to that worked at Kelly OCG. Jen, welcome to the podcast.
Well, thank you, Elliot. Thank you for having me today. I'm super excited to be here.
That's great. If you want to just take a minute and give us a little more insight into LevelUp. I mean, I know you guys, highly rated by your customers, but tell us what the services are and how you about the middle market focus, if you could, just, very quickly before we dive into the topic.
Absolutely. So LevelUp is a 10-year-old firm, born and bred as an RPO firm, and has recently dove into the managed service provider market. We are headquartered out of New York. We are diversity, a national minority-owned, diversity-owned company. We are global in nature. We have offices in Europe as well as in Asia-Pac. We have a large office in Canada, servicing North America and Canada clients as well, and a few feet on the ground, if you will, in South America. We have traditionally focused in what I would call the professional technical market, fintech, technology, very strong in the investment banking, financial services, retail and commercial banking end of it. And we are also very strong in both healthcare, clinical, non-clinical, as well as healthcare IT, which is a very niche market. We do a lot with pharma and life science clients as well.
You guys made headlines because you were in the midst of the emergency of the pandemic. New York State turned to you to build their contact tracing operation, which you did in record time, from what I understand.
We absolutely did. They came to us just after Christmas. And so you can imagine everybody was scattered throughout the globe and asked us to build a function to start hiring thousands of people. And we were able, in the course of 10 months, able to deliver over 12,000 hires for that program. It was a very exciting time for us. And when many clients in 2020, or many competitors, I should say, in 2020, didn't have very successful years, we had our most successful year to date.
Well, that's great. By the way, for the practitioners in the audience, when a provider executive says it was a very exciting time, that means they didn't sleep more than 2 hours a night for 10 months, just so everyone's clear. So, Jen, at HRO Today, we hear from senior HR leaders in all different levels of the marketplace. And we hear from them that there are just not good options, particularly total talent solutions. And I'm talking about a coordinated effort, not just, we bought RPO and we're going to buy MSP. But true total talent solution providers for mid-market size deals. There's been this trend toward total talent, but it's mostly perceived as something for large companies. So that may not be true. And there's a gap in the market, right, for that company that's looking for, let's say, 500 to 1,000 hires a year, 500 plus minus, and to manage a contingent labor pool where the spend might be 20 to 40 million. And I'm being told that they don't exist, but do they? And why is there this perception that they don't exist?
So I think that's a great question and a good point. And I'd like to address the perception piece first. So I've been in this business now for 25 years. We've been talking about total talent solutions for a number of years now. And I think that initially many folks felt that it was only a solution that fit a larger organization with spend in the hundreds of thousands. But many of these large providers, have they actually had success implementing total talent? I think when you think of the Fortune 100 companies and you think of large providers trying to build a total talent solution, it's extremely difficult to do. You need to get executive buy-in. You need to get the change management strategy right. You need to have supplier adoption. And supplier adoption, it's not, 10, 20, 30 suppliers. It could be hundreds. So I actually feel like the total talent solution is much better suited for a smaller, more mid-sized firm. I also think that the perception is out there with total talent only being a large company trend because you had many of the vendor management solutions companies building and selling what they considered an off-the-shelf product for the smaller companies to more easily implement, for companies that had smaller contingent labor spend, for companies that maybe insource their contingent labor program. And I really feel like these companies that the VMSs felt the off-the-shelf products were built for, they still need and desire to have a customization piece to their hiring practices, both in the RPO full-time equivalents as well as the contingent needs. That's where a total talent solution can really solve for these challenges. Additionally, and particularly with the COVID pandemic, I think many of the mid-sized firms reduced or even eliminated their talent acquisition function. And now they have to solve their hiring challenges. By combining in a total talent solution, both contingent and full-time hiring practices, they can be more cost-effective and move to the market and move with the market quicker.
Well, and there's certainly been an argument in the enterprise market in these large companies about what's the definition of core business. Can you fractionalize part of your HR operation using an outsourced provider? I don't, for the life of me, understand why that same argument would not apply both operationally and mathematically, for that fact, to the mid-market. But, it is interesting. Very few, you don't see much, whether it's, even from contributed articles to us about the mid-market solutions. But I believe, and I think you'll bear this out, that's actually the fastest growing component of this marketplace from what I understand. It's just that they're harder to find the deals because people don't come looking. Big companies are sending out RFPs all the time. But from your perspective, tell our audience or tell me that we should be doing to make it more apparent that, yes, there are customizable service and technology-based solutions in the mid-market.
Well, absolutely. And, at LevelUp, we've really kind of watched where the bulge bracket bigger players have going, and we go in the other direction. We're providing very flexible and scalable solutions to companies that sit in the 2 to 4,000, Fortune 2 to 4,000 range. These solutions that smaller providers can provide and the larger companies really aren't playing are important for those mid-market companies because they're dealing with the war for talent just like anyone else is. But they're, trying to go against some of the larger, logos in that war for talent and making sure that their hiring solutions are not only good for them as a client, but also strong for the candidate experience are super important.
And you make a good point, too, about competing for the talent pools against these sort of name brand logo marketplaces. If you're a mid-market company and you're competing against a Fortune 50 company for talent, you want to have the absolutely best quality team at the front of your operation. Sometimes that may be an external partner versus an internal team. So given these solutions do exist, but the larger companies, the larger players out there, the sort of the name brand providers of workforce services, they're not playing at the same level that you're playing at. I suppose it's important to make sure that the mid-market clients understand their options. So I know you guys focus on the mid-market. Describe how your total talent solution works and how you tailor it, right? So I'm a company, and every company is unique. Every company has different issues, different needs, et cetera. So how do you design a solution? How do you tailor it to the mid-market?
Well, I think I said it earlier, our solution's extremely flexible, right? It's extremely agile. We can move much quicker. We're able to implement quicker. We get the team trained faster, and we're start to be able to actually produce results for our clients in a much quicker and faster way so that they can meet their business objectives. Our total talent solution also incorporates pieces that are part and parcel and traditionally applied only to an RPO solution, like a market mapping for talent solution, like employer value proposition, and doing some work on the EVP of a client, a particularly mid-sized client, and their brand and how we're going to go to market and market to their candidates against some of those larger, more sought after logos. Adding in a DE&I, diversity, equity, and inclusion initiative to both the RPO, full-time hiring side of the equation, as well as the contingent labor or MSP side of the equation. As I said earlier, the war for talent is on, and it's not always a fair fight when these mid-sized markets are vying for talent that are also looking and being courted by high-profile logos. And therefore, when we apply some of these niche offerings that are traditionally only an RPO offering into the contingent side for our clients, it really brings them not only a much more white glove approach to both the candidate experience and the client experience, but it adds value that really, can't be surpassed. And it brings value to the onboarding piece, to the tightness with which a candidate comes into the organization and is excited about being there because of the experience that they've had, whether they're a full-time, candidate or whether they're a contingent worker. I think that's what really sets the LevelUp total talent solution apart. We're able to be flexible. We're able to customize. We still bring the vendor management solution, but we're not bringing that off the shelf product. We're bringing the ability to integrate and implement the Fieldglasses, the Beelines, the Vinleys of the world to our mid-sized clients. And we're able to bring both the full-time side and the contingent piece together to drive value for our clients.
And you've worked for one of the big name brands, Kelly OCG Group, which is outsourcing consulting group. So it sounds to me like what LevelUp can do is no different, in terms of the service provisions that they can put in front of the client as options than what you'd find in the much larger deals that would be done by some of the top tier workforce service companies like a Kelly and some of the other big names. It doesn't seem to be much difference, just that you've targeted it to companies and sized the infrastructure to meet companies that are more in the mid-market than necessarily the sort of mega deals that have been done, by some of those providers recently.
That's absolutely correct. And we've been super successful in our ability to move quicker. Oftentimes, these companies don't require an RFX event, right? Oftentimes, you're dealing directly with the decision makers, and we're able to move much faster for them. And that makes them obviously a much happier client on the other side. But yeah, I've worked for some of the bulge brackets. Kelly, one of them, Bartek was the other one. I've worked with GRI and MSX. So I've worked for, I guess, all three that are large in Michigan, since that's where I sit. And yeah, I mean, I've managed those P&Ls, and there's a certain amount of truth to the fact that a smaller mid-sized company, they just can't be as profitable as they'd like to be. And so we're really watching, at LevelUp, we're really watching where they're going and going in the other direction, and providing that value and providing a total talent solution to those smaller firms that still need to hire top quality talent, whether it's full-time or contingent, and advising them on best practices and the best way to get that done so that they can be ultra competitive in the marketplace.
Look, whether you're a big company or a mid-sized company, whether you're Fortune 50 or mid-sized, everyone's looking for the top 10% of the talent market. When was the last time you saw a company advertising for a mediocre executive?
Right.
Right. It's everyone wants the best that they can get, right? So I think that having the right team, but also there's this perception that unless you are a really large company, you've got to do it in-house, you got to do it yourself. And even, to hear you talk about adapting the Fieldglasses, the Beelines, the Vinleys to those needs, a lot of people perceive that that's not the right solution for them because they're for big companies and they're trying to use something that might be built into an ATS or CRM product that they have and adapted for contingent labor. But, the truth is that these solutions can be scaled for you, and there are companies that are scaled to meet your needs specifically, like LevelUp RPO. So thanks, Jen. Some great insights, some great points here. We try to keep these things fairly brief. You've given us some good things to think about for people who are interested in understanding more of how something can be geared specifically for the middle market. And LevelUp there are some very good providers. LevelUp is clearly one of the best in this market, but it isn't just that they're the only one. So just know there are people out there, and you can find out more about the way their solutions are put together at their URL, which is www.leveluphcs.com. More about the company. Jen, thanks for your time today. We appreciate you joining the podcast, and we look forward to having you back in the future to talk more about what's going on in the middle market.
Thank you very much for your time. It was great to speak with you again.
All right, thank you. And to our audience, thank you for your time and attention. We hope you found today's podcast informative, and we look forward to you joining us at a future HRO Today educational podcast.